Good morning, everyone. I am honored to be part of this first international conference for the Nasarawa State University Faculty of Education and to be presenting as a keynote speaker on the theme Curriculum Reforms in a Technology-Driven World and its Implications for Education in Developing Economies. I would like to welcome everyone to this conference and encourage you all to participate fully in all activities in this conference because we know how conferences on education benefit us and trickles down to the entire nation. Before I begin proceedings, I would like to acknowledge the presence of the following dignitaries. I would like to acknowledge the presence of the Executive Governor of Nasarawa State, the Emir of Kefi, who is also acting as the Chancellor of this noble institution, and his or her entourage. I would like to acknowledge the presence of the Prof. Chancellor, who is Chairman of Council, the Vice Chancellor, who is our Chief Host, the two Deputy Pro-Vice Chancellors, all Principal Officers of the University also, heads of tertiary institutions in Nasarawa State, herein present, government agencies such as the University Council overseeing companies, Dean, Faculty of Education, Deans of Faculties, Directors, Heads of Departments, Professors, staff, gentlemen of the press, and other invited guests, all other protocol observed. The main theme for today is what I look at, and the title is Curriculum Reforms in a Technology-Driven World, Implications for Education in Developing Economies. My name is Ruby Hansen. I'm coming from the University of Education, Winneba in Ghana, specifically the Chemistry Department. Education, as we all know, has been seen as the key to development. Not now, but for centuries, it's been seen as the key to development. Why do we see it as the key to development? Because it is at institutions where we offer education that we train people to fit into societies and to be lived with by other people in societies. Indeed, education is UNESCO's top priority. It is a human right and the foundation for peace, justice, and sustainable development. In West Africa, where educational systems face unique challenges and opportunities, the integration of technology, which is now common knowledge, into curricula could be critical for improving educational outcomes. This has been a talk for centuries now, and indeed it is coming to life that employing technology into education, using machinery and electronic gadgets, using software that we operate on could be a panacea, especially for us in developing countries. Technologies and tools and platforms could be directed in a manner to ensure human rights, enhance capabilities, and facilitate collective ideas that will direct peace, justice, and sustainability, as I mentioned earlier. The integration of technology in education has gone beyond the space of education. It's moved into workforce and subsequent development of economies. The usefulness of technology in pandemic-stricken and challenging eras cannot be underestimated. We can recollect how important technology became for those of us in academia and our learners, how we were able to employ technology to end semesters, how we were able to employ technology to end academic years and to begin academic years until the world was declared safe for us to meet in person to continue academic work. Education, therefore, must be reimagined through curricula to bring about profound change to shape the future of humanity and the entire planet. So, as I talk about curricula, one might want to find out technology and curricula. What about that? Are we not employing technology already in curriculum? Are we truly doing that? What then is curriculum? How do we integrate technology into curriculum for best results? From our basic studies, we have come to know what curriculum is, that it's a set of courses, structured of course, lessons and academic content. You may think of it in terms of a compilation of syllabus, a compilation of different disciplines, and so on and so forth. But they are blueprints for what students should learn, how they should learn them, the roles that teachers have to play, and possible resources that could facilitate engagements. It also sets clear learning goals and ensures consistency in whatever we are teaching. And it shapes learning and experiences for students' futures if well structured. Talking of if it is well structured, we are beginning to think of reforms now. Restructuring curriculum. What is curriculum reform? It is a process of making changes to an educational curriculum to better meet the needs of learners, the communities in which we find the learners, and the changing world. Subjects, content, pedagogies, resources, and learning outcomes herein are updated to meet the changing needs that we require. In fact, sometimes they are completely overhauled. And all of this is done to ensure that education becomes relevant in a changing world. Society is dynamic. Therefore, education also has to be dynamic to meet the changing world. It ensures that education aligns with contemporary and future challenges, not just the challenges that we are facing now, but future challenges as well. Curriculum reforms in a technology-driven world with integrated technology curricula would certainly have significant implications for education in developing economies. If you come to think of the fact that we had to employ technology during the COVID era, and it was so impactful, then why are we sitting down? Do we need to do that? We certainly need to employ technology. We need to find ways of integrating it in such a manner that it will help us to develop our learners for the future and beyond. Curricula would have to be designed, perhaps I could say redesigned, to be flexible and relevant to the current job market by incorporating skills like coding, data analysis, data communication, and many more. This presentation for today will explore briefly the implications of technology-driven curricula reforms for West African countries. That is a bit large, so I'll just look at a few issues in Ghana and Nigeria, considering the time space we have. I have said a lot about technology-driven. We have looked at curriculum. But what is technology that we wish to integrate into existing curricula? It is the application of scientific knowledge for practical purposes to transform the way we live and solve problems. One would say, are we moving into the realm of engineering? We could engineer education. We have educational engineering in many aspects. Yes, we need to think of technology as the application of scientific knowledge for practical purposes to transform the way we live and the way we solve problems. This brings to mind oceans of innovations and tools. I am sure you're already thinking about e-gadgets, phones, AI, artificial intelligence, which is becoming popular now. As I talk, people must even be imagining, is AI not going to push us out of work and so on and so forth? No. AI is very important if managed effectively. And we will want to look at AI in developing our curricula and its implementation if we wish to move on and be abreast with the rest of the world. What are these tools? I was talking of thoughts of oceans of innovations and tools. What are these tools? Some of these tools. We have hardware which you are familiar with, talking about computers, smartphones, robots, and so on and so forth. We have the software tools, the operating systems, applications, and algorithms. We have networks, internet, which we are familiar with, machines and other equipment that we can use, from industrial machinery to things that we can even use at home, and energy solutions. Think about solar panels. Think about wind turbines, battery technology. They are all things that we can look at and incorporate what we need into our curricula for lifelong living and learning. This shows that technology can be very important as far as education is concerned. Technology, from literature, as we can see, has transformed education from traditional classroom-based systems to more dynamic and interactive experiences, profoundly transforming educational landscapes. In developing economies, we could tap on this also. We need to come to par with the developed world. For how long can we continue to be tagged developing? Technology such as digital books, online resources, and software could bridge educational gaps, enhance access to information, and support innovative teaching and practices. We are familiar with e-learning. Most of us employ e-learning in our institutions. E-learning would offer global connections. People are in their localities, yet they enroll in schools and connect with people all over the world. Imagine the experiences they would gain from this. Imagine the connections and all the things that they would learn differently than if they had just been localized. The international experience alone would help us catapult us forward in our economic development. But successful integration requires addressing infrastructural and pedagogical challenges. How do we integrate technology then? Do we just put into our syllabus or our active lessons that let students watch video, let students open up their laptops and computers, let students do this and that, let students take photos with their phones or cameras and so on? No, it has to be done in a more meaningful manner. So how do we integrate technology? Appropriate educational models are in existence. We need to know the different kind of models that are there and the ones that would be appropriate for us. It could be discipline specific. A very simple model that people have used is the ADDIE model. What is the ADDIE model? The ADDIE is an acronym that stands for analysis, design, development, implementation, and evaluation. It's a cyclic kind of model. So you need to analyze your situation. It's like if you want to develop a curriculum, you do a needs analysis, right? You engage with stakeholders and so on and so forth. You come to the table and put down things. You try to join things together into a meaningful outcome. You go back, you engage them, you discuss what you've come up with for them to see whether it suits what they told you about, and then you move on until you get the curriculum that you want. In the same way, if you wish to integrate technology into an existing curriculum or an existing syllabus or an existing lesson note, you go through the same process. You need to look at different phases of your curriculum or syllabus or lesson notes and then see how best you can integrate technology at what points, and then think of the effect that you will impact on your learners. Yeah. So far we've been talking about curriculum, we've been talking about technology, and we've been talking about its integration, the integration of technology into curriculum. We have heard also about the ADDIE model, which helps us to analyze and to develop and evaluate, implement, and so on and so forth. But then, what are the actual levels that we need to look at? The previous slide showed the levels of technology integration. This is a 5-level integration model. So what does the teacher do at each of these different levels? How is it impacted on the learner? So if you take, for example, the first level, which is the entry stage, what is expected of the teacher at this stage? What would his learners be doing? How would a teacher know that this has to be, exhibited? So for level 1, the teacher has to begin to deliver a lesson, work on a syllabus, on a curriculum by using technology. So you show the use of technology, for example, in a lesson that you want to teach. And then students are expected to be introduced to the technology. They're expected to be handling issues, learn how to use whatever gadget or software is given to them. And then there's an adoption level where the teacher has to direct learners in the conventional use of a particular tool. As students learn to use the tools, they collaborate. Hitherto, without technology integrated, students will just have learned passively, individually. But here, the digital space is allowing them even to gain the skill of collaboration. Then the teacher might go on in another level to facilitate the tools exploration and learners' independent use of the tools. So here, students have to learn to construct knowledge as they use the tools. So it goes on and on and on. You just don't integrate technology by saying, I'll use camera here, I'll use phone here. It has to be purposeful. Even as you think of the integration, what is its impact going to be? What am I taking out there to the learners? How is it going to make my lesson useful? What are students gaining for life, for today, for tomorrow? We have been making efforts, yes, to integrate technology if you go across West Africa, most countries are making efforts to integrate technology into their curricula so that it will affect education positively. West Africa has recognized this potential and is using it to its advantage. Countries like Ghana and Nigeria have made strides in integrating ICT into education also. Yeah. We've gone far, others are in their developmental stages. Some have gone further than we have gone. For example, Senegal has done so well and has documented its success story, which can be found all over the internet. If you wish to find out how West Africa has progressed, Senegal will certainly be there. And Ivory Coast is also doing well. Of course, we are also doing well. So what are some of the reforms that we have been able to make here in Ghana? We have actively pursued curriculum reforms to integrate technology into our educational systems at various levels. The Ghanaian Ministry of Education has introduced policies aimed at integrating ICT across all levels of education. Even at the lower basic level, we are trying to introduce, we have already, not trying to introduce the use of technology, particularly ICT. So we have things like the ICT for education. We have other initiatives. The government is trying to run courses for teachers to update their ICT skills, and so on and so forth. These reforms all aim to equip students with essential digital skills that will foster more engaging learning environments. But we ask ourselves, how have these lofty ideas been realized? Fully, partially, to what level? You agree with me that at the inception stages of things, we often have some challenges. So we might not have 100% realization. No, in Ghana, we face challenges such as inadequate technological infrastructure. There is limited access to digital resources and regional disparities in technology adoption. In fact, there are disparities, some kind of inequalities, even in the sharing of computers to teachers and learners across the countries. Addressing these challenges require targeted investments in infrastructure. We need professionals, we need experts, we need to train teachers, we need to integrate ICT into all the disciplines, and we need to adapt curricula that we know is working elsewhere. But all of these are, income requirements that we need to look at. Okay, and so far, in Ghana, government has been looking at public institutions. Private institutions are not currently part of government engagements now. So imagine if there are 50% of public schools in Ghana and there are 50% of private schools, then it means as at now, we are only trying to educate digitally half of our populace, and that could be problematic. So these are all challenges that Ghana needs to look at. I am sure Nigeria would have similar challenges too. Literature tells us that Nigeria has done a lot with ICT on the educational front, just as Ghana has done. But I am sure that you would also have a few challenges. Yes, your educational system has undergone several reforms aimed at integrating technology into curricula. You have a national policy on education that emphasizes the role of ICT in enhancing teaching and learning. You have initiatives such as the Smart School Initiative and the National ICT ICT policy to improve digital literacy and technology in schools. But what are your challenges? 0, 50%, or you have been able to attain the ICT integration for development as you wish? Yes, all West African countries have some challenges, and you have challenges also. Like Ghana, yours also include infrastructural deficits, inconsistent implementation of technological policies, and disparities in access between urban and rural areas. Am I right? I think I am. Effective implementation of technology reforms requires addressing these issues all across West Africa and to ensure equitable distribution of resources. You agree with me that some schools in rural areas had to get their areas certainly will suffer. You experience this problem in Nigeria also. But again, when we are able to implement these things effectively, they will offer us numerous benefits, including enhanced teaching pedagogies, student engagement, and eventually educational outcomes. Investment in technology infrastructure and teacher education are essential for realizing these benefits. So you see that in West Africa, let me limit it to West Africa, we have about the same challenges. Senegal, which I say is almost going to, quite a percentage of achievement, also has challenges. Go to literature and find out. So the challenges are common to us all. We have access and infrastructure deficiencies. We have technological proficiency issues. Teacher education is one big issue because when you look at education, we have 3 main pillars: the teacher, the learner, and resources. So teacher training is a key issue, and we have not been able to surmount the problems there. We have pedagogical adaptation to look at, and the digital literacy gap. There is issues with equity and inclusion. Do we think about people with special needs when it comes to integration of technology? There are issues with privacy and security concerns. Of course, financial constraints are huge issues for us. And then there is the digital divide that we need to look at. So what now? What now? We know that once we are able to integrate technology, we will move on, and we will move very fast. Africans are really adept at learning very fast. So the issue this morning is not so much about the implications. We know the implications already. We know how beneficial it will be to us. But what do we do now? The power of technology is difficult to leverage without curriculum integration. So learning to integrate technology must be one key thing that we have to look at very carefully. The ultimate is extensive and higher order use of tools to plan and monitor. Real-time feedback and personalized content is important, but emphasis on effectiveness is largely dependent on quality of implementation, teacher training, and alignment with pedagogical goals. Individual differences in technology readiness and learning preferences will also have to be considered. And the benefits will be tremendous. There will be wider choice of easily accessible materials if we go digital. Communication skills would improve, and our general performance would improve in all aspects. We would be able to provide fun in learning See how everybody is on their phone now. Everybody spends so much time on their phone, these smartphones. Everywhere, in schools, in homes, in the markets, under trees. So imagine if our learners are engaged in digital space learning. They would find learning to be fun. They would acquire new skills. Not only our learners, we would also acquire lots and lots of skills and knowledge. Mental and physical self-improvements would be one thing that we would learn. And we would have up-to-date technological advancements. In fact, the benefits here are just limited. They would be enormous. And as you said, most of you are aware of the enormous benefits that we could gain if we integrate technology into space. So there is a call to action now. We need to be up and about on what we want to do. We need to get learners to develop skills early, emphasis on early, with inclusion of appropriate skills for digital citizenship. We need to rethink roles of teachers and learners anew. We need to actually sit and rethink the roles over and over and reimagine the role of technology in education. We need to check alignment between policies and practice, which are not truly in practice now, from our national level to local level and to our classroom levels. We need to go over stakeholder engagement again, reconsider teacher profession, which has been said numerous times since I started speaking. And we need to look at how we will assess now, thinking of AI and all the new things that are coming up. So there is a call to action. But what's the way forward for our various countries in West Africa? We need to invest in technological infrastructure. We're always complaining about money. We need to sacrifice somewhere and make money available for technological infrastructure. I am sure, I haven't done research in this area yet, but I am sure that wherever we pinch to make way for infrastructural development, we will go back and regain more in that area. So governments and stakeholders should prioritize investments in technological infrastructure. Again, we need to enhance teacher education. There should be a new focus for training teachers now. We must develop contextual curricula. Reforms should incorporate technology in a way that aligns with our local context. In fact, learning must become very meaningful for our learners through technology. There should be provision of support systems. Without support systems for the start, this effort could fail. So we need to provide support systems. And like I said before, we need to consider the private institutions also, or else we might gain 100% change, technological driven changes in parts of economies and lack in other economies. We mustn't think that private institutions must do it all by themselves. They are part of our nation, and we need to channel some resources to help them to also develop technologically. So I'll bring my presentation to a conclusion now. As I said before, we already know, as we all sit here, we already know the implications if we should have technology-driven curricula. The main issue now is how to integrate technology into our curricula, how to integrate it into our syllabus, how to integrate it into our lesson notes, how to integrate it in our engagement, daily engagement with our lessons. So I would conclude by saying technology-driven curriculum reforms present both opportunities and challenges. We saw the challenges through the speech for education in West Africa. But by addressing infrastructure and training needs and adopting contextual relevant strategies in curricula, Countries in the region could harness the potential of technology to enhance educational quality, innovation, inclusivity, and accessibility. Collaborative efforts and sustained investments are crucial, very, very crucial, for us to be able to realize the benefits of these reforms. We need to embrace technology in a manner that makes it not just a trend, because everybody is going technological, but a necessity for those in West Africa and for Ghana and Nigeria in particular, for academic excellence and a sustainable economy. I have a few recommendations. We should be able to explore the long-term impact of technology-driven reforms on outcomes and issues of equity. We must look at the availability and use of technology in developing economies. There is literature, but then we could do more studies and add on. We could do case studies and then comparative studies to see how we are coming along. We need to support each other. This is a necessity and no longer a trend. Thank you.